All right, let's jump right into this. Have you ever noticed that a deep sense of inner peace can actually change how your relationships feel? I don't mean making them colder or more distant, but actually making them feel, well, lighter. So in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly why that is.
This is a super common question, and honestly, it makes a lot of sense. We tend to think that deep feelings, real connection, has to have a certain kind of weight to it, a certain intensity. So it's totally natural to worry that as we get quieter on the inside, our connections might lose some of that warmth.
The first fear is a big one, that you'll just become less emotional. You worry that all those intense highs and lows, the stuff that feels like the very fabric of a relationship, will just kind of flatten out into a boring straight line.
And right on the heels of that comes the worry about becoming less attached. The fear that you'll somehow start to drift away from the very people you care about the most.
And finally, there's the fear of just becoming more distant. But what if this whole way of thinking is just wrong? What if the heaviness we feel in our relationships isn't actually about connection at all, but about something else entirely?
So, to really get this, we have to ask, where does that heavy feeling actually come from? Well, most of the time, it's not about the other person. It's about a constant, subtle little process that's happening inside our own heads.
Just think about it for a second. When you're in a conversation, isn't there often a part of your mind running this quiet little commentary in the background? Am I saying the right thing? How am I coming across? What does this mean about me? It's like you're running this constant performance check on yourself, and that is what adds all this pressure to our interactions.
And there's actually a name for this whole process. It's called self-reference. It's all this extra mental work, this act of watching yourself listen or checking in real time how your words are landing. It's basically like you're trying to do two jobs at once in every conversation. You're participating, but you're also managing your own participation.
And this really gets to the heart of it. See, on one side, you have a direct connection. You're just talking and listening. But on the other side, you're doing all of that while running a background check on yourself. And that second layer, that's where all the tension and all the weight comes from, even in the safest, most loving relationships.
So, what happens when that constant self-monitoring starts to fade away? Well, this is where that feeling of lightness finally gets a chance to show up. And the process is actually surprisingly simple. First, that internal chatter just starts to soften, usually without you even trying. And as it does, all that attention you were using is now free to move completely outward, onto the person you're actually with. And the result? The whole conversation just gets a lot simpler.
And here's the real game changer. The conversation no longer needs to be managed by you. You stop trying to steer it or control how you look or analyze it while it's still happening. You could just be present for it.
But, and this is a big but, when that constant pressure you've probably lived with your whole life just disappears, it can feel weird, like really weird at first, and it's so easy to misinterpret what's happening. This is where we get tripped up. Our mind might go, "Whoa, I feel detached," when what's really happening is you've just lost a bunch of unnecessary tension. It might feel like a loss of closeness, but really, you've just stopped trying to micromanage the interaction. You might even worry that it's emotional withdrawal, when the truth is, nothing is missing. The only thing that left the room was the weight.
So where does all this lead? Well, it leads to a way of connecting with people that's just more direct. It's a connection that isn't built on the friction of constantly checking in on yourself.
And this boils down to such a powerful idea. Care does not disappear when effort disappears. See, the effort that goes away isn't the effort of caring, it's the exhausting effort of constantly watching yourself. The care, the actual connection, that's what's left, and it actually becomes clearer.
So what does this actually look like in real life? Well, you find yourself listening more directly because you're not also half listening to your own inner critic. You respond more naturally, more spontaneously. And maybe the biggest thing, you stop the exhausting work of trying to maintain the relationship. And because of that, the relationship itself just feels easier to be in.
Okay, so let's pull all of this together. What is the big takeaway here? What's the one thing to remember about this whole shift from heavy to light? It's this. If your relationships start to feel lighter, it doesn't mean you care any less. It means you are no longer carrying the weight of yourself inside every single interaction. You're just free. Free to show up, to listen, and to actually connect.